Hello, hey, for our first build class, what are we going to work on? What are we going to learn? We're going to learn about this veneer. Not very exciting, is it? So it's used for a lot of projects, especially when it's in nice big whole pieces. But when it gets down to these little bitty pieces, what are you going to do with them? Hate throwing them away because you spent too much money on it, and but it's laying around. So I have 3 projects that we're going to talk about where you can use that veneer. I'm sure there's plenty more, but these 3 are 3 that I have enjoyed making. First thing we're going to discuss is making a little flower. Very simple. So we got a little carving and we have a little veneer. We're also going to be looking at making this, as soon as I get up my hand, a little ring. These are very, very sturdy little rings. So if you ever had wooden rings, I wear different ones. These suckers are tough. And then the other thing we're going to talk about, making some butterflies. Look at that. So if you're interested, hang around. We'll probably do a quick breakdown of each on this video, and then there'll be extended videos going deeper into the process. I'll share in the links below, and you go check those out too. Okay, so a quick rundown on the flower. First thing, I drew in some marks on my stock here on my wood, and then I cut that out on the bandsaw in one direction, and then I flipped it over, cut it out in the other direction, and that gave me a very rough, blocky stem. So then I took this stem and I went to the carving bench with my knives and I carved that down to the shape I want. Nice, pleasant, smooth shape. And you also see here on the top here, there's this nice platform. You want that, and that's where your petals will glue onto. Now for the petals, you take your stock and you just take a pair of scissors and you can just cut that out pretty easy. Pretty simple. For thin veneer, and this is plain veneer, it has no backing on it. Some of them have a heat sensitive backing on it. This is just plain wood veneer. And so then what you'll do is just dab a little bit of super glue or whatever glue you're using, and then start placing that on this platform and working your way around. Get one layer on, get the way you want it, let that glue set up. If you're using instant glue, then that's pretty quick. And then just start adding layers as you want. And so you may want to curl some of these, and I will do that by running this, taking these, you can wet them and then slightly start bending them. Oh, I just broke that one. Dowel rod like this to give you some, and just slowly work that way around. And then you can see it's starting to hold a shape, but I broke it. But that's how I got the curve that's on these right now. So you can do any variety of colors of wood. You make this any shape you want. You make the petals short. You could put on a whole bunch. There's really all kinds of things you can do. I've never added this touch before. That was just something different. I thought that looked kind of fun. And that's just this kind of stuff here that was on the, I just split that with my knife in real thin strips, so nothing special. So here is that. If you want more detailed instructions, then check the link, and there you have it. So let's do a quick rundown on how you make these rings. These rings are made basically by taking your veneer and wrapping it around a dowel pin. And what it makes them very strong because you have one layer of wood. The grain is primarily all running the same direction. And so that makes for a very strong bond or strong ring, versus if you were to drill a hole in this, and then this would be basically like stacking papers up. You're gonna have a weak joint right there that's gonna want to break. So basically what I did is I took my piece, I had about 1 inch wide and about 24 inches long. I got it wet in some warm water, and then I just started just working it back and forth like this, slowly bending it, getting it more and more in shape, till eventually I could wrap it around a little dowel rod. Now this dowel rod is smaller than the end shape that I wanted, and the reason for that was you want it smaller because the inside's gonna be kind of messed up when you get done. This is what that looks like when it comes off of the dowel pin. Yeah, it's kind of gross, isn't it? So it's just big and it's sloppy and it's got mess in it. So that's what. And so you just you always get the inside first, and get it to the size you want it, and then you start working down the outside. And that will, whatever thickness you want. I like to taper my profile so it's taller on top and then smaller at the bottom, versus just being the same thickness all the way around. That's my preference on rings. So then when it's in the back of the joint, it's just less meat down there. Well, so well, you know, that fits my pinky finger. So if you have any questions on something like this, put your questions below, and we'll see what we can answer. Now just remember with this, you can do any kind of color, you can do any kind of wood, you can add stuff to it, you can stain these a different color, all kinds of stuff you can do. So good luck, have fun, make a bunch of rings, and let me see those pictures. Thank you very much. Hello everyone, let's talk butterflies. So these are fun to make, these little veneer butterflies. This particular one, of course, I just got this all out of whack. I made for an anniversary gift for my wife. So I had this very thick scrap base here, very heavy hardwood, carved hard in it because, you know, I'm sweet. And then I put these butterflies on there in a grouping. I originally did one, and I really liked it, and I thought, well, how would it look to have multiple? So that was my spin on it. I really enjoyed it, and this has been one of my favorite pieces. Although it's actually very simple, I just really enjoy how it came out. The tricky part on this is carving this body. So now you see this one, I did it very thin. Is that what a butterfly looks like? Probably not. But you can kind of make it how you want it to look. I wanted this shape. I like that shape. And so that's what I did. So carving that, just be very careful because it gets very thin, and you got to pay attention where your blade is in reference to your fingers, especially when you go to put slots in the top here for the wings to slip into. I like to get, you know, maybe a 1/16 of an inch or a little bit more of a slot in there, wide enough that I can push the wings in there, and then add a little CA glue to fill in that and hold it in place. And then for the little antennae, you could use wire. I actually took and made a real small sliver of veneer and just used that on there. The only problem with that is they're kind of weak. But you just need to make sure, this is another tricky part on this one, is making sure these 2 points on the eyes, or the antennae, are even, because you don't want one coming out of the top of the head and one coming out of the side of the head, because that would just look funny. So you want to make sure that your slots are even on the back. I would put a center line down through there, to the center of your flower, and then, or your butterfly, and then put your marks on here before you cut. That way you know they're going to be in the right spot. Now for these, I just cut them out, and I did absolutely nothing special to these at all. This is just straight veneer. I would make a pattern just so you get both sides are the same. So there's two shapes here. It's kind of this bigger lobed shape, and then your actual wing. For me, I typically use cereal boxes as the my template material. I find that works very well. And so I would make a template of that. And that way you can replicate it pretty easily and cut it out. If you happen to have a little laser, you could also use that to cut these pieces out. And you could also put a design in it if you wanted to at that point. And you could also add another, you could cut out a darker material and put a design on it, or you could watercolor these. If you ever put watercolor on wood, that's kind of fun to do. And that's pretty simple. That's pretty much it. There's not a lot to these at all. I don't know if I'll do an in-depth video on this one or not. And then just glue or drill. If you want this to be on something like this where it looks like it's flying, then drill a little hole in the bottom for a wire. Or you could just put that on, you know, a little clip and clip it onto your plant or hair piece or whatever you want to do with it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and happy flying. Please leave your comments below and let me know what you think of this project. And send pictures, comments, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And till next time, have fun crafting.